and we're here for a status hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. I'm recording to the Zoom cloud as I don't have a court reporter right now, and we are live streaming. So we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Stroud for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Kayla Martinez will be testifying for midday. We are present and ready.
Judge Vince Nowak on behalf of Roxana Ramirez. We are both present and we are ready.
Joel Jackson on behalf of the father, Panswan Panhurst, and my client is not present. I've not had an opportunity to meet with my client, although I did schedule a meeting on the 2nd of this month. So I'm not ready, Your Honor.
Stacey Zabala on behalf of the child.
Okay, well, Mr. Jackson, since this is a status hearing, we're going to obviously move forward, and hopefully at some point we'll have some contact with parents regarding what it will be expected service-wise.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so then if we could get an update on whether either or both parents have gone over or received service plans.
Your Honor, when I last spoke to the permanency specialist, she said she still had not been able to get a hold of either of the parents.
Okay, and Ms. Ramirez is present today in court. Mr. Nowak, do you know if she's gone over her service plan or received that?
Not only has she gone over her service plan, Judge, but she is appearing today from Senecor. You know, okay. I'm so proud that she's there. So for St. Francis Ministries, if you need to get a hold of my client, you can either call me. Well, call me would be the best route, but you can also get a hold of Senecor. But Roxana, just to make sure, I don't want to say something that's out of line. You've seen the service plan, correct?
Can't hear her.
Can you get Laura back in to help you with the volume? Yeah.
It shows she's connected to audio.
Come on, Laura, connect to audio. Laura, can y'all, Roxana, can y'all hear us? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, but we just can't hear you. So let me do this. Have you seen your service plan? Yes or no? Okay. Are you willing to? Well, this is when we need audio. This is when we need audio then. But while we've got downtime, I will tell you that she's in a drug rehab program, and I'm very proud that she's there, and she seems to be doing well, Judge.
Okay, until we get Mom back, let me just get an update. Have Ms. Martinez, have y'all had any contact with the father?
No, Your Honor, we have not.
All right, so he's obviously not seen a service plan or gone over that.
That is correct, Your Honor.
If they don't get it to work, Judge, I can call Laura on the phone number I have, and y'all can probably just stay on the picture stuff, and I'll call you, and we can get you. Yeah, I got you. All right, answer Laura, answer your phone when I call. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Judge, I hate to do this piecemeal, but this is the best we have right now. Can the court, Roxana, say something?
Hello?
We good?
All right. Well, I told where I was there in Senecor, and she was supposed to drop off the service plan, and she never have dropped it off.
Well, maybe the caseworker can get your service plan to me, and I'll drop it off to you. But for right now, let the judge do the judge's thing, and just stay on the phone, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Judge.
Okay, so Ms. Martinez, then any other updates on the child?
No, Your Honor. He's doing well in his placement. He's adjusting well. There has not been any changes since the court report has been filed. He's current on everything. He's meeting all of his milestones. He did have some seasonal allergies, but he was prescribed some medication for that.
Okay. All right, and now that we've we know where mom is, then if she's successful at completing Senecor, then we can make an attempt at visitation again. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Jackson, anything today?
Just briefly, Your Honor, ma'am, you've never had an occasion to meet the father in this case. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you tell from the reports that you have in your file whether or not Mr. Ponhurst is able to speak English?
As far as I know, he is limited in his English.
Okay. I guess the next question is, would you have any idea about whether he is capable of reading and writing English?
That I don't know.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is that on September the 11th of 2023, there was an acknowledgement of substance use form that was signed apparently by my client and the investigator, Mr. Anderson. And that gives me great concern that Mr. Ponhurst may not have even known what he was signing. And I don't know if there was an interpreter present when they reviewed this form. Would you happen to know that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Very well then.
And Judge, may I speak on that real quick?
Sure.
Joel, I want to say, if I remember correctly, that when Mr. Anderson met with your client and that paperwork was gone over, I want to say they were at his uncle's house where he lives, and the uncle, I believe, speaks English. I think that is correct, that he kind of helped him with the paperwork and stuff. But okay, could be wrong, but I think that's what happened at that point.
Well, that was just my first sense when I saw that. So anyway, I haven't had a chance to visit with him. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a note, if it's helpful, that when father was interviewed, he requested an interpreter, which was provided.
Okay.
So, I just made a notation of that.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Thank you, Judge, and I apologize for the feedback. It's coming from my phone.
Sorry.
Ms. Martinez, you know where Ms. Ramirez is, correct?
Yes, sir. Now I do.
Can you take her plan of service tomorrow?
Yes, I can have somebody drop it off at Senecor.
You need to meet with her to go over it with her.
Yeah, I can. Or I can send one of my other staffs to go over it with her. She does have a parent support worker assigned to her case, who actually helps her, once she gets out of Senecor, to go over services and to kind of help her schedule those things.
Whether it's you or someone else from St. Francis Ministry, will somebody go over with Ms. Ramirez what she needs to complete to get her kiddo back?
Yes, sir, we can.
And will that happen tomorrow, do you think?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Judge. I pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Zavala?
I have no questions of the witness. Just a report on the child who's doing very well. My only concern before finding out that mom was in Senecor was just whether we needed to have drug testing before in-person visits. I know there were multiple attempts made at in-person visits and that didn't work. We may not be having in-person visits for a little bit while mom's in Senecor. And that may take care of my concern, but I was just hoping for just a clean UA before in-person contact.
I would think that we will know that if she successfully completes Senecor, then, obviously they're going to test and do all that. So I think we would have our answer if she stays there and successfully completes.
Yeah.
Then, of course, she would just be subject to random drug testing from that point on. But now, if she doesn't stay at Senecor, then absolutely, we'd want a clean UA before any visits occur. Okay. All right, then. I am going to find that there's a continuing danger to return the child home to either parent at this point in time. That the department is using reasonable efforts to return the child home. Order the service plans as an order of the court. And I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement. Ms. Ramirez, once you've gone over this service plan with your parent support worker, if you have any questions about it, you certainly want to talk to Mr. Novak about that. But this is just the time where I have to tell you that failure to work your services could result in the child not coming home. In worst case scenario, it can mean termination of your parental rights. So it's very important that, you work your services. Where you're at is the first and best start. Okay. Because unless you can stay clean and sober, really the rest of it is, it becomes sort of moot, so staying drug free is the key to all of it. Okay. All right, then. I will see everybody back for our next hearing, which is March 5th. And that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket.
Judge, thank you so much. And Roxana, if you even think of leaving Senate Corps, I'm your first phone call.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sticking with it.
Good. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Judge.
So part of this order will be if mother successfully completes Senate Corps, then visits can be set up. If she does not, then no visitation until we have a clean UA. We are here today on a motion for the extension of the dismissal date in this case. We are conducting this through Zoom, and we are recording to the Zoom cloud. I don't have a court reporter this afternoon, and we are live streaming. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
T.D. Hammonds for Jesse Beach, father of Stephen. I'm ready, Judge.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Stephen.
Okay. All right, Mr. Trout, if you want to begin, this is the department's motion, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, we are asking for an extension on the dismissal deadline in order to kind of begin the reunification process and get some start with some face-to-face and unsupervised visits with Dad. Make sure that Dad's got the apartment set up and is ready for Stephen to come home. So that is what we are asking for. After speaking with Mr. Hammonds, Dad is not in agreement with that, and so that's why we asked for this hearing. I think Dad wants Stephen to come on home as soon as possible. We would just like the time to start a reunification plan and step up and get the child reintegrated into the home. I believe it is my understanding, and Ms. Sessions or Ms. Peoples can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Stephen was moved yesterday into the Amarillo area.
Today. He'll be placed in a foster home today in Amarillo.
He was moved up from the, I believe, Dallas area to Amarillo today, and to be placed so that we can start the face visits and move to the unsupervised and then work the child back into the home and make sure that the apartment is set up and appropriately ready for him when he gets there.
Would a transitional monitored return work?
Probably so, Your Honor. I think that would either way, I think would be okay. We just needed time since the finals in a couple of weeks, and the child is just now back in the area. My understanding from Mr. Hammond's correspondence with me, they are moving. I think Dad and Uncle are supposed to move furniture and stuff up on December 2nd, which is just a couple of days before the final hearing gets set. So that apartment won't be ready until at least that time. But that will give us some time to start the visits. But yeah, the transitional monitored return, I think, would be fine also, Your Honor.
So,
and you know, the reason we asked for the extension to begin with instead of that is just due to, you know, I understand Dad's ready to have him home, and I think Stephen's possibly ready to come home. I think it's just with some of the behaviors, you know, starting with the extension, if we need to go the monitored return later, it gives us that little extra time in case some of the behaviors kick up and they need some more help with that once he's back in the home, is our concern.
Well, and I understand that, of course, but I'm guessing that time is not what Mr. Veach is looking for.
Yes.
So, Mr. Veach, a transitional monitored return would be just, I mean, we would be working towards making sure certain things are in place for the child. And in the meantime, since he's now been brought back to the Amarillo area, we could start the process of some unsupervised contact, some short visits, that kind of thing, and then work into what's called a monitored return, which basically means the child is returned home and is living with you, but we continue to monitor it. So, a transitional monitored return, gives us an extra 6 months. So does the extension, but I guess I feel like if we're this close to reunification with dad, then maybe just do it as the transitional monitored return.
And Judge, I guess just let me clarify. That's what you're thinking is that the department, as of our discussion today, prepared documents that would let you sign for a transitional monitored return before December 5th, before that even final hearing is held.
I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. I mean, in other words, do they have enough of a plan in place for that? Do you mean, or
Well, or you're saying you would sign a possible transitional monitored return on December 5th?
Well, I would, it's all so close. I don't really, it wouldn't matter to me whether I sign it tomorrow or December 5th, honestly.
Okay.
We're just talking about the difference of a few days, but the department may need a few days to sort of get the transitional plan in place.
Yeah.
It's probably going to look very much like what it would be under an extension. It's just that it does give us the ability to kind of press forward, and
I understand. Judge, I think in talking to Jesse about this whole situation, his apartment is pretty bare at this moment. His uncle has all of Stephen's property, furniture, clothes, toys that he had at his house down there in Odessa. They were going to bring all of that up here December the 2nd in preparation for Stephen being placed with him on December 5th, if the department was just going to get out of it and give him his child back. He's been working at Walmart. He hasn't had any days off. It just hasn't been able to be coordinated with the holidays and everything. It just has been crunched, and he just hasn't had a chance to get all of that stuff up here. Saturday, December 2nd was the date they were going to do that. Them bringing Stephen to Amarillo certainly, will make things, I think, a lot better as far as even him being able to go and spend, like you said, 4 hours with him, some face-to-face contact, go to the park, whatever. And that hasn't happened because of the distance. So, I guess, Jesse, do you understand what we're discussing?
Kind of. I guess I'm a little confused between the two different terms of transitions that the judge was mentioning. I'm just a little confused on that.
Well, what it is, Mr. Veach, is if I just ordered a plain, what we call a monitored return, that could mean like the child would be placed with you tomorrow. Okay. But a monitored return with transitions, there's some steps that we take before the child is placed there on a full-time basis. Okay. So one of those things would obviously, let's get his belongings and make sure he's got a bed and, what he needs there at your home. That would be one of the transitions that we would make. The next would be, because the child's not been here, in such a long time, that we would start with some unsupervised visits and then kind of work into like half day, full day, and then overnight, so this may take place over the course of the next, say, 2 or 3 weeks. And then at the end of that, then, the child is actually placed with you for 24 hours a day, you know, I mean, but for school, obviously, but you know, it's since the child is back in Amarillo, I mean, to me, I mean, it's perfect timing. Next week's, you know, we got some holidays, perfect timing for dad and the child to get to maybe spend some significant, you know, time together in some time periods. You know, I don't know, Mr. Veach, I don't know what your work schedule is, but you know, it just seems like a good time to me to kind of get started on all this. But I understand you're not going to have all of his belongings or anything until that first weekend in December. But in the meantime, we can be working that direction, you know.
And Judge, if I may, Ms. Peoples, and I've kind of talked with them on this, but she has some information I think she would like to share on this as far as what we're looking at and if there are any other concerns that is the reason for the extension.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of our biggest things is just that Jesse hasn't been able to have any visits with Stephen in 4 months since he's been at the group home in Katy, which I understand the distance. But you know, the phone calls they've had have been pretty they're good. They're short though. They're about 15 minutes long and they're kind of sporadic. So I mean, I would like to, like you were talking about, just do some monitoring on those, just because this was a physical abuse case. I would really like to just make sure that the transitioning back into Jesse's care would be safe for Stephen, and you know, because that's all we're just concerned with is his safety. I would like to have some time to get a child care plan into place with Jesse's partner, Kat. She's living there too at the apartment. So I would like to have some time for that. And yeah, you know, the apartment is bare. So I mean, he would need to have his bed there. And I understand that they're getting that situated on the second. But I think I would also like to see, I think it would be good if we could do some family therapy maybe between them. Just to ease the transition more, because I would be concerned just dropping him off in Jesse's care immediately. So,
which I'm not suggesting, and I don't think anybody is.
Yeah.
Miss Peoples, have you started putting together a kind of a timeline for reunification? Have y'all started working on that?
No, not yet.
Okay. Is that kind of what one of your next steps? I know you just mentioned family therapy, but is that going to be worked into the timeline that you're looking at in the reunification schedule?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So are you, and I know a second ago Judge mentioned maybe within the next few weeks get that worked out, but are you looking at, you know, starting with some supervising, some family therapy, and then trying to move into some unsupervised and then move back into the home? Is that what you're looking at?
That's what I would prefer. But
and so is that the reason for originally asking for the extension instead of the monitored return up front, is to give us that extra buffer in case we need more time with, say, family therapy or something else?
Yes.
And Judge, I may have spoke out of turn when I said I thought maybe a monitored return may work. And like I said, with Ms. Peoples is telling me, now I think we would still prefer the extension in order to have that extra time in case we need it, in case something goes, you know, unexpected in family therapy, or, you know, just give us some more time in there.
Well, okay, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking back at my notes at our hearing in September. And the court report at that time basically said that father's cooperated. He's completed his services. Drug tests have been negative. He had the friend that was living with him that would be a potential caregiver for the child, and we were going to look at that.
Yes, ma'am.
But in the background check had been done on that individual, Katrina, and I have a note that, you know, that the intent was St. Francis was going to move forward with a reunification plan, and that was September. So,
And Ms. Sessions may be able to answer some of that, Judge. I do remember that, and I think we've all got some questions on that one. So Ms. Sessions may have an answer for us.
well, and then, and I mean, that was based on the department's report, and then in our actual hearing, you know, my notes reflect everything was still going well, negative drug tests. You know, child was with the uncle, you know, was having some behaviors at that time, you know, but.
Well, Judge, I think underlying all of this, of course, the caseworker, Mario Zavala, he apparently left St. Francis within the last month or so. So a new caseworker has taken it on, and I think they're trying to get up to speed on it. But, you know, that is not Mr. Beach's fault. I mean, he's done everything he's supposed to. I do not recall seeing anything recently that actually gave us a report regarding Stephen's behavioral issues. I mean, has he been to any type of counselor? Is he on any kind of meds? Is he in resource classes? I mean, because, you know, they've indicated to me that they'd also like Mr. Beach to have some time to kind of adjust to his behavioral issues. Well, I don't know what those behavioral issues are. I don't know if he's been diagnosed as autistic or just defiant disorder. You know, maybe he just wants to be home.
Well, if I mean, I've got my notes about what was going on at the time, and I think if we're going to get into all that, I would want to go off the live stream.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And Your Honor, it was my understanding, at least in my notes, that what we were going to do after the last hearing is to facilitate some visitation with Dad and Uncle at Uncle's house. So I'm not sure what happened with that, whether that went forward or, but I know that was going to be the next step, and I don't believe any of that has happened.
Yeah, apparently not.
Dad did go visit the child at the uncle's house. But the child was moved to the group home when the uncle put in notice, and there has not been face-to-face visitation since July. That's how long he's been at the group home, is July.
And
right.
I think what Ms. Zavala's talking about here is at the last hearing when Mario still had the case, there was discussion of trying to do like a weekend visit and have the child go to Uncle's house and Dad would go down to Uncle's house. And that's what we're trying to figure out. Did that happen or not?
It did not.
Okay. Do we know why?
I could not tell you. This is the first time hearing about that.
Okay.
So Mr. Beach, what can you tell me about that?
From what I understand is we were supposed to do that plan for September and do the weekend plan. And then Mario just never put in the paperwork or anything such for it. That's why there's no trace of it. Like, he was supposed to be putting in paperwork a month and a half ago for Stephen to come back to Amarillo, Texas, and the paperwork was never filed. He just never did it.
A placement request, and that is accurate. And so as soon as that came to us, that was the first thing that Rachel did. And this foster home came available in like yesterday. And so they jumped on the foster home. They had a placement for him in Levelland at the RT in Levelland. This foster home came available in Amarillo. So we jumped on that immediately.
And I appreciate it. I
and
really
he'll literally be here today. We got notice yesterday, and he'll be in Amarillo today.
That's amazing, and I really appreciate it. I just don't want it to come across that like I have issues with St. Francis. It was just near the end after our hearing in September, Judge. Mario, in my point of view, he just seemed to neglect my case. Like, the only thing that really got done on a monthly basis was my drug tests. Other than that, the placement order, everything else was never done. And he said he was going to be putting it. He never called my uncle, because I talked to my uncle. That's how we figured out about getting Steven's stuff down here on the 2nd. And I asked him, I was like, hey, like, did Mario ever call you? And he's like, what are you talking about? I have had no phone calls, no texts from him. And I was like, yeah, after the court hearing on September 21st, he was supposed to call you. So until Stephen gets to come to Amarillo or come home, whichever comes first, that we were going to try to do like a weekend visit at your house, and I would provide our food and our plans and stuff if you would be okay with that. He was like, I would have been okay with it. But he never called, he never texted. And then he told me shortly after, and about I think 2 weeks in, he was going to put in a placement order for Stephen to come back to Amarillo so it could be easier to have weekly visits with him instead of just over the phone for 15 minutes. And that order was never filed, Your Honor.
Well, the bottom line is that, bottom line is nobody's talked about extraordinary circumstances. And that's what we have to grant an extension in the case. And I don't think they exist. I mean, we're this close to placing a child with dad. And it's just, I don't think it's appropriate for an actual extension in the case, because I don't think there's anything that rises to the level of extraordinary circumstances as that is defined by the Texas Family Code. And so I think the transitional monitored return is the route that we need to go. I think Mr. Veach has been very patient. And, because we were talking about this, like I said, back in September. So, Mr. Veach, I'm not saying kiddo's coming home tomorrow, because that's not what's going to happen. We need to ease him in. We want this to be successful. We can still do family therapy under the transitional monitored return. And I think that would be great. But, and that can continue to happen even after Stephen's at home, and quite frankly, probably more effective, because if we're going to have issues between dad and son, that's when they're going to come up, is once he's living there. So, let's make sure dad's got what he needs for the child. Let's start some, 4 hours unsupervised, 8 hours unsupervised. Let's do an overnight, and I really feel like in the next, say, 3 weeks, he ought to be at home, and let's get the family therapy lined up. I think it's way more effective when they're living under the same roof, because let's address the problems as they come up. If they come up, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll go really smooth, So I just can't find a basis for an extension in the case. Just that it gives us more time overall, that it gives us 6 months, and then maybe we can grab another 6 months down the road. It's not what the code says. So I think that's the answer. Yes, sir.
I'm still willing to comply and do anything else that Rachel and Aaron would like me to do. If they want me to continue family therapy with him, that's okay. If there's any services they may want me to do until this case is over, I'm more than happy to do them. And you would be subject to all of that, the same thing, requirements of your service plan under a monitored return. I mean, I'm just telling you, you will be. So okay. I really miss him. I know that Rachel and Aaron have been. I was not expecting him to get moved to Amarillo in as fast as I've got to talk to Rachel. So I'm extremely grateful that they're willing to help me as much as they are.
And the most important thing, Mr. Veach, is absolutely no corporal punishment.
Yes, ma'am.
Zero, none. So, so I would like for everybody to get their heads together on starting a transition home, and I really think we can do it in the next 3 weeks. But I think next week's a great time for Dad and Stephen to have some time together, if that can all be worked out. I understand placement, it's a holiday, placement may have plans, and I know we've got to work around that, but let's just see what we can figure out.
I have one more question, if I may, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
I know in September you were asking Katrina to do the parenting class. We're still working on it. It's just her schedule is extremely wonky right now. And I just want to see, when he does come home and I have to work, may I have your permission that it's okay for her to watch him?
I think she passed all the background checks, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She did. There is some CPS history as the absent parent. She was never, she never had any findings against her personally. She was just the absent parent with her biological child.
Yeah, I think the main purpose of the parenting, Mr. Beach, is about, the focus there is okay, techniques to use with with a child that maybe has some behaviors, and I don't think it's probably a fundamental parenting class that we're really asking for. It's more something geared towards this child's age, and if he's still having some of the behaviors that he was having. Okay.
Absolutely.
How to deal with those kinds of things. So,
yes,
And even, sorry, I'm sorry, Judge. But even incorporating Kat into the family therapy if needed, because really our concern is that there's cohesion in the family unit, because it's not just Jesse and Steven. Like, Kat is very much a part of the household and will be a part of the family, and making sure that they all get along and everything works with them as a family unit.
And if she'll actively participate in the family therapy, I think that would satisfy me as far as parenting. I think we'd be accomplishing probably more if she participates in therapy. And the therapist can certainly actively incorporate some appropriate parenting information, into those sessions. So I won't even require her to do a separate one if she's going to participate in family therapy.
she would do it, absolutely, Your Honor.
Okay. I think that's more important.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure it was okay with you, and make sure it was okay with Rachel and Aaron. I don't want to be on bad terms considering they're both new coming into the case. Me and Nario had almost 10 months working together, and I just don't want to step on the wrong foot with Rachel or Aaron. They both seem wonderful people. Rachel, when she came by and did her first visit, like, she listened, and she did way more than what Mario did with us. And I really do appreciate it. I'm grateful for just her seeming like she actually cares, and that goes a long way in my book, especially with Mario's neglect in the last 4 months.
Mr. Beach, all I can say is, like I said earlier, we're this close. So
yes, ma'am.
Everybody's got the same goal. We want him home, and we want you guys to be successful. So that's all any of us are asking to do is let's it is a transition. We're just not gonna drop him on the first step and then expect everything to just go perfectly well. That's just not how these things work. So, we'll ease him in and let him get comfortable. Let you guys kind of let everybody kind of, get their feet wet, and then, we'll work it up from there. So, I'm going to deny the motion for the extension in the case, because I can't find any extraordinary circumstances, but I am going to grant them the monitored return with transitions. And, I think we got a plan. I think everybody kind of knows what we need to be doing. So, okay. Anybody have anything else they need to cover today?
But court will still continue to be on December 5th, correct, Your Honor?
Do we want to change that to a review hearing that day, Judge, or do we want to consider this? How do you
Probably he won't be home. We've covered a lot of ground today. I think we can safely say that we've had a review hearing today. I'd like to maybe have a hearing, fairly soon after maybe he's been home. So maybe before the end of December might be more appropriate. And just, it'll be a review. I know it'll be pretty soon, but let's just do that. See how things are going. So Miss Katie, if we can find something kind of a little later in December.
Well, Judge, the December date was, it was within our 1 year, final deadline. So are you needing to enter some sort of a permanent order on December 5th, or?
I can sign, I feel like we're so close, we're just talking, like I said, a handful of days. I can sign an order for the transitional monitor return anytime between now and the original dismissal date.
Okay.
And then that restarts the clock.
Okay.
So like I said, I don't necessarily need to wait till December 5th to sign it, but we can.
I understand.
But
and then I'll explain to Mr. Beach. I'll call him after this, Judge. I'll explain to him that at any point after that, the department can just back out of it. We may not even have another hearing beyond December the 5th. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we might have one. Miss Katie's suggesting December 12th. You know,
Okay.
that's correct. I mean, Mr. Beach, I mean, we may have a hearing in December, and then if everything is just going great, you know, then the department will probably just dismiss out
Okay.
before another hearing. But we probably will schedule one just in case. So
My only question is, could we possibly make it around today, like the time today? I go into work at 9 o'clock. I was working a closing shift of 1 to 10, but to prepare for Stephen come home, I work at 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if we could aim it around 1:30 again, that I get an hour lunch, and that's actually what I'm on now is my hour lunch. If we could do that, that would be fantastic. If not, I'll figure it out. I'll let my boss know, and I'll figure it out.
Miss Katie, is that feasible to do?
On December 12th?
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, what time was it? I was working.
1:30.
But that'll be fine. You don't have anything in the afternoon.
Okay, we'll just set it at 1:30 then.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate it.
And Judge, we'll go ahead and get an order for the transitional monitor return. Put in, I know the 12th that they were given, the actual dismissal date's the 11th on this case. So we'll get it in before then to make sure we don't miss that deadline.
Yeah.
From the date of the day, today being ordered, it looks like the new dismissal date would be May 14th from today.
Your voice trailed off, Mr. Trout.
Sorry, from today, from an order, the new dismissal date is May 14th.
All right, so I'm going to enter an order for transitional monitor return, and we'll also do a review hearing order for today.
Okay.
And then we're going to have another short review on December 12th of 23 at 1:30, just to see how everything's going with him being home. All right, then, Mr. Beach, congratulations. You're getting ready to be busier.
I'm so happy about it. I'm so ready to be busy. I've been waiting a year to have him home again, so I'm more than ready.
All right, well, I'll see you back December 12th. We'll see how everything's going. So I appreciate everybody getting together so quickly today. And if someone can shoot Mr. Terman an email, just let him know, that'd be great. So, okay, Mr. Shelton, you need to go ahead and stay on video.
All right, thank you.
Judge, I think there's
You can stay muted for now, that's fine, but you'll need to stay on video. So you need to take your hoodie off. This is a courtroom, and you need to just, if you can, just sit somewhere where you can be kind of still, because the motion of the camera moving around all the time is very distracting. We are here set for our adversary hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement and consent of the parties. We are live streaming on YouTube, and Ms. Taylor is making our record today. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready on.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Ashley Sangster, and we are both present and ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Cameron Shelton. We're present and ready, Judge.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of the child, here and ready.
All right, anybody need to talk in a breakout room before we get started, or are we ready to go?
Cameron, do you need to talk to me?
Yeah, can I speak with you real quick just to make sure we're on the same page?
Judge, would you put us in a breakout room, please?
Yep, be happy to. All right, we ready to go?
And so unless Vince needs to talk to me, I think we're ready.
I think we're good.
All right, then I'll call cause number 98322D in the interest of, well, I think I called it already, didn't I? Ms. Taylor? I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we called it and took announcements. Okay, so Mr. Trout, where are we?
I believe we will call witnesses.
Okay.
You know what? And I apologize, Judge. Maybe I need a breakout room with Daniel, if that would work.
Oh, sure. I'll give you all a minute.
Natalie, you good?
Yeah, I think so. She She agrees, as long as it can be somewhat limited. She doesn't have a vehicle and so forth.
All right, so Mr. Trout,
Yes, Your Honor. After speaking with Mr. Nowak and Ms. Archer, I believe the parties are in agreement that the parents would agree to TMC and work services. What Ms. Archer was just speaking of, Ms. Sangster, and in this case, technically the non-offending parent, that she was asking what and how many types of service she would be working due to her job and stuff. She was kind of limited in that. Ms. Sangster is the non-offending party here, so her services would be fairly limited, to drug screening, keeping a stable home, stable job. There's other children in the home that are, believe under her care. So, I don't believe we'd be asking for any parenting classes at this time. So, as long as everything's checking out, she's scheduled tomorrow. We were doing a home assessment. I think any concerns that had prior been in there have been addressed. We've asked her to drug screen. I believe that's set up for tomorrow. And then we'll see once that drug screen comes back.
we talking about as far as placing potentially?
Yes, ma'am, because she's the non-offending on it. So as of right now, our home's checked out. We're just looking at the drugs, waiting on the drug screen stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
And I believe after talking to Mr. Nowak also, I don't want to step on his thunder on this, but I believe Mr. Shelton's agreeing, but would be asking for another drug screen that we can do for him. That's not a problem.
What?
Just go ahead and send him for our drug screen. I believe he's going to be requesting a drug screen today or in the next few days.
Correct.
Okay. Did you get it, Amy? Okay.
Sorry, Amy, I trailed off on you again.
We talking about hair, UA?
Hair and UA, we'll go ahead. I mean, well, he did the hair a few weeks back, which led this. So I think a monitored UA at this time, if we could. I don't want to do two hair follicles in 3 weeks. So
I think a UA is good, Judge, for
Okay.
Cameron. Thank you.
Right. All right, Ms. Archer, is that your client's agreement?
It is, Your Honor. She would like those services to be limited due to transportation issues and the fact she's the non-offending parent. That was correct.
Okay. All right, and Mr. Nowak, then is this your client's agreement?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, that would be my agreement as well. I do feel like that would be in her best interest.
All right, at this time then, I will find that the evidence is sufficient to name the department as temporary manager and conservator of the child. I'll find that there is an ongoing and continuing danger to the child to return the child home at this point in time. Obviously, we're going to gather some more information, sounds like pretty quickly, about mom and on her home. So I'll also find the department has used reasonable efforts to avoid the removal of the child, but until we have some more information, then the child will be in care. I obviously will expect parents to work the appropriate services. And I will send Mr. Shelton for another monitored UA. And it's late in the day today, so what are we saying, tomorrow by noon?
Yes, ma'am, I believe that'll work.
Can we do it by 4 tomorrow, Judge? Just, it's only an extra 4 hours. Cameron, can you be there by 4 tomorrow to UA?
Can you be there by noon?
I can do by 4. I wouldn't be able to do by noon due to me having to take my online classes and getting those paperworks turned in for class. I have a deadline that I have to make.
Thanks, Cameron. If we can do by 4 tomorrow, Judge.
Okay, 4 o'clock tomorrow.
And Judge, just can we have that ordered as a monitored UA?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that. I'm sorry.
No, monitored UA. All right. All right, before 4 p.m. on 17th. Okay, so we will have our status hearing on December 19th of 2023. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. And between now and then, the department, St. Francis, is going to sit down with y'all and talk about service plans and what things they're going to want you to do. And go over those. If you have any questions, talk to your attorneys about them, and we'll talk more about those services at the next hearing. Okay, then. I appreciate y'all visiting and working this out. I assume no child support or medical support at this time.
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, then. I'll see everybody back on December 19th. And we'll talk about services and get an update and see how everything's going.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and if everything checks out with Ms. Sangster, you know, I don't have a problem if we go ahead and move the child at that time. I mean, in other words, we don't have to have another hearing.
Yes,
as long as
ma'am.
everything checks out.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Y'all have a good
Thank you.
rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Judge. Permission to leave?
Absolutely. Everybody's going to leave because I'm going to shut it down.
Thank you, sir.
Nancy.